Let's move into a vocal release exercise. So before you engage with this, you might want to spend a few minutes just doing some gentle stretching and warm up, which I've covered in the vocal remedy video. And you might feel like you want to do some breath work as well. So go to the vocal piece video and check that out, and there's some information there. So assuming that you have done a little bit to prepare your voice and that you're not just coming into singing from cold, what we are going to do is just make some really gentle sounds to ease us into a technique and a way for us to get rid of tension and use our vocal expression as a vehicle to transform emotions that are kind of weighing us down or mental energy that is giving us stress and anxiety. So actually using the voice in this way is really, really beneficial. Just to have an opportunity to take something that is problematic and to transform it and channel it into something creative is great, because you feel like that energy has gone to some positive use rather than the sensation that you might feel when something is weighing on your mind, or something has angered you or triggered you, and instead of releasing that and getting that energy out of your perspective, it sits there in the background and it bubbles away, and as the day progresses it only gets worse, and then you find yourself trying to carry on as normal, but it actually starts to disrupt your communication. Like maybe something's made you angry and you've not had a chance to kind of go wah, and then all of your interactions for the rest of the day are kind of tinged with this quality of being short-tempered and maybe a bit aggressive and not very nice to be around. So hopefully this will give you some additional tools that you can play with and use in whatever way you see fit. So that's vocal release right there, which we covered in the breath video. Once we start integrating sound into the breath, that becomes a vocalization. So that's vocalized sound. And I remember kind of as a young child being, oh, for goodness sake, you know, your mum or dad is huffing and puffing away, and you think, oh, I don't want to be around that. But as you get older, you can sympathise and understand that sometimes that might be the only tool that you have available to you in that moment. If you can't fix or solve a problem, you can let it go with your voice. So that might be able to give you some light relief for a few moments or a few hours. So let's just play with a quality that I would call toning. So we're just sustaining a note, any note that you choose, and letting that note run out to the end of our breath. So I'll give you an example. So I'm just letting it die away and fall away. And I can hold the note for a while because I've been doing quite a lot of toning recently, and it's something that as you build up, the more you do, the longer you can sustain your note, the stronger you can hold that quality of sound, the further you can project it, the more volume that you can bring into it, and the more colour. So this exercise or tool is not only a way for you to utilise that to release things that you don't want to hold on to, emotionally speaking, or in your mind, but also you can use that as like a training space, so that when it comes to performance, say, you've actually been working with sound and playing with different qualities of intensity, of pitch, of volume, and that all becomes really useful for performance technique. So every exercise here has always got more than one purpose, so that's something to bear in mind. If you ever feel silly sitting there going la, then just remind yourself that it is useful to you. So this is where I can start to bring in an intention. If it's something that I'm hoping to let go of, okay, I want to let go of frustration. Don't think about it too much. Just allow yourself an organic space where you can just get real with yourself and be like, okay, what does my frustration feel like right now? So I'm allowing my voice to take over that space because I've given it a platform to be heard, and I'm not getting in my own way. I'm just really providing an opportunity to give voice and give sound to something that I might not have the words to articulate. Like maybe it's a problem or a feeling that I don't understand, and I can't just write it down, or I can't speak to a friend about it, or I don't feel inspired to write a song about it to try and transform it. But what I can do is, I feel a bit sad. So when we are playing with these different voice qualities, we will definitely run into what are called primal sounds. So laughing, crying, wailing, keening, these are all sounds that we make every day without thinking about it usually. Something will trigger us and it's just an automatic response. You know, somebody wants you to do something that you don't want to do. Definitely you will hear young children go, I don't want to do that. Or they don't necessarily say anything, but they say it all with their voice and their sound. So as we get older, we do tend to move away from these impulsive style of communicating, just because we feel more self-conscious and we get worried about what people are going to think, and how many adults have you met that, you know, somebody asks them, oh, can you pick something up from the shop? And they go, oh, and grumble about it. I know a few, but there aren't that many of them. But yes, it's definitely helpful sometimes to allow yourself the space to connect with an authentic sound that really represents what you're going through and what you're feeling. And it's definitely a private activity for sure. Maybe you feel joyful and happy and you want to express that, and actually there is a practice, I believe, called laughter yoga, which is all about trying to cultivate laughter, and the best way to do that is to practice. So yeah, you can definitely share those kind of sounds more easily because they're infectious and they're joyful, and other people can't help but want to join you when you are gregarious and full of life, and making sounds that are maybe more aesthetically pleasing to them. But if you do have an opportunity to be on your own and just have some quiet time, or be in a place that you won't be disturbed, you might just feel safe enough to work with some toning, which is a very neutral sound. It doesn't have to be happy, sad, good or bad, but your intention behind that is the thing that will be specific to you, and the thing that you can keep to yourself. And you will know by listening to your own voice over time and getting to know it and tune into it. Maybe you don't have an intention, but you just feel that you want to shift some energy in the body, or to change your emotional state, and you might just come to toning and so to somebody encountering that sound, they might not be able to identify what it feels or what it means or why. But that doesn't matter, because that sound is not for them. We're not performing, we're not trying to appeal to anyone else's idea of what sounds good to them and what they like, and we're not trying to mimic our favourite artist or do anything like that. It's purely just a space for you to make the sounds that you want to make. And sometimes your vocal release might be a lot like "Rah!" or something that's a bit more aggressive or reflects what's going on for you, and it's absolutely okay to do that. And I would say it's almost essential for me to find space that I can shout, cry, scream, laugh, and have all of these real feelings that happen and that we experience all the time. But we more often than not find ourselves in social situations or in shared spaces where it doesn't feel appropriate to make those sounds, or there's a worry that we would be ridiculed for making them, or that we're going to be misunderstood, that maybe if we do make an angry sound, that somebody might feel that that was meant for them and misunderstand that it was just a process of us needing to let go of something that was weighing us down. So in that sense, definitely, find somewhere that is your safe space, that you know that you can make any sound that you want to, without having that feeling of like, oh, if somebody is gonna cross my path or bump into me right now, how is that gonna make me feel? And am I gonna shut down and hide away because I've revealed something that I'm feeling that I didn't want anyone else to know about or hear? So that's why the toning becomes a really like level playing field, because you can be quiet, you can be loud. And I'm just giving you an example there, but the quality of that sound that you make is going to be in no way similar to a quality of sound that I would make. So that is your superpower. That is your unique sound, your unique frequency. So I encourage you to carve out a space for yourself where you can find a moment just to vocal release. And in terms of how we can ensure that we are looking after the voice and caring for it properly when we do all this, because we've spoken about lots of different sounds, angry, happy, sad, it doesn't matter. The intensity of how you're using your voice, especially if you're in a really heightened emotional state, if we do a little bit of warm up and preparation, and we are trying as best we can to come back to this space of making sure that we're not overly tense, making sure that our posture and alignment is good, making sure that we are not going from normal everyday speech quality into full blown shouting and screaming, if that's what you need to do, then taking all of these other tools into some practice beforehand is going to give you some preparation. It means that you can experiment and play with sound, safe in the knowledge that you are better prepared and that you're not going to run the risk of hurting your voice. So that's just a word of caution, especially if you've got some rage that you need to channel. That's absolutely fine. We all do. But yeah, just look after your voice, warm it up, stay hydrated. And if you're going to be doing anything intense or loud, then just remember to take rests, take breaks. Don't put unnecessary strain where you don't have to. And yes, if you want to send me a message and check in with anything that I've covered in this video, then please do. And I'll be very happy to speak to you more about this, because it can be a really fun practice and thing to do as well. So yeah, so writing and journaling are both really useful tools for vocal release. We're still tapping into the voice, connecting with our internal voice and giving it an outlet and a blank page and a space to let our ideas flow, be creative. So you can treat this as a kind of creative exercise with paint and pens, or you can come to it and just splatter onto the page. It really depends how you're feeling and what you are called to. If we want to approach it in a more structured way, I might start thinking about something, okay, what's blocking me? This could be a creative block, it could be an emotional block, it could be something in the mind. They're all kind of related, so we could start with that question. Then we could move on to what can I release, or what can I let go of? And then we might want to move on to what would I like to invite in to replace that I've let go of. So we've kind of started with 3 questions, and there's a kind of progression moving between them. So we might want to actually split the page into 3, or we might want to give ourselves some arrows to remind ourselves that we're kind of moving in some sort of sequence. So this is totally up to you. You can begin with these questions just as a guide and a prompt, or perhaps you have some other questions in mind that will be useful to you. So I can think about this maybe specifically to voice. What is blocking me? Okay, I'm going to write down fear of being heard. What can I let go of? I could let go of people pleasing, because I think those 2 things might be related. So what would I like to invite in? I'd like to invite in a feeling or a quality of being carefree. Like, not carefree like I don't care about anything, but stress-free, worry-free. Yeah, that's more accurate. So you can come to this and start off all in the one column, or maybe you want to work step by step with each feeling or quality, or let's draw a line under that and approach it in a different way. A free writing exercise. So almost like we are coming to a diary or a letter, or that we're talking to a friend. And doing this through writing is often quite amazing what comes through, just because we use a different language than we would if we were speaking sometimes. And it can be just interesting to read over what you've written. And the great thing about it is, if you've written it on paper and you decide, oh right, okay, I don't like that, or I've got that off my chest now, and or something that was difficult to write and you don't want to think about it anymore, you can scrumple it up and throw it in the trash, or burn it safely, or fold it up and put it away and come to it again later on. And it can be a reference point, like if you've written notes about ideas or feelings, and then you come to it like a month later, and then you expand on those notes, you might feel like your idea has evolved or changed, and it's always interesting to track your progress with something. So just beginning, similar to a songwriting exercise, we are just allowing ourselves to begin. So if you're stuck, start with a prompt for yourself, like just to get the pen flowing. Let me begin. So I've literally just written, let me begin. I want to tell you about something that has been on my mind. So literally, if you are staring at a blank page and you're like, oh, I don't know what to do, I don't feel like I want to write anything, either accept that that's how you feel and move on to a different exercise if it's really not floating your boat. Or you could start with some drawing, something to just get some movement and activity happening and some creation going on, and then you might start to draw words or things like that. Or you can just prompt yourself by saying, okay, let me begin. I want to tell you about something that's been on my mind, and then just let your pen keep flowing. And you can time yourself with this exercise if you want, or you might want to come to it first thing in the morning when you are kind of distraction free and fresh still. And mind mapping, which will also be a helpful thing for you with songwriting, is something that you might want to try here. So starting with a central theme or idea. So let's go with this idea of release. I'm trying to think of ways for me to find a creative outlet or to let go so that I don't allow things to build up or overwhelm me. So I could maybe start writing things that support me to do that. So really, this is totally personal to you. And you might then start to see patterns and relationships between things. And you might want to take some notes on that. The page is yours. So just continue to explore, and if you're feeling blocked with this exercise, you can walk away and come back to it because it's physical, and there is no deadline. If you continue to use this tool again and again, it will become easier over time that you'll sit down in front of your notebook or something, or at your laptop, maybe you want to type, and the barrier of getting from that point of, okay, I've got some gunk in my head that I want to try and put down and transform and maybe even create a song out of, that over time it will get easier, and everything with practice becomes a habit, and that actually you might find it a good outlet for you to come to, just to let things spill out and let your voice express itself through another medium. So have fun.